Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive. Can diplomacy calm the markets, or is the Gulf economy entering a new era of uncertainty as peace talks struggle to deliver a breakthrough and energy markets remain on edge? Questions are growing over Qatar's economic outlook and the wider impact on global oil and gas. So what should investors and businesses be watching next? One of many questions for Frank Kane, who is the editor-at-large at AGBI, which is the Arabian Gulf Business Insight. Joins you back in the studio. Good to see you.
Great to be back, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. So let's look at your latest piece and your argument that Qatar is an economic loser, regardless of the peace talks. What makes you say that?
Well, look, I must say I'm not trying to kick Qatar when it's down. I've got lots of good friends in Qatar, and they have been over the decades an incredible energy and economic success story.
Yeah.
But my latest piece was part of a series that I'm doing on the economic consequences of the peace for the Gulf countries. I've already done the UAE and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And when I came to Qatar, looking at the evidence, it seemed to me that they had suffered, more seriously than most others. A double whammy, if you like. There was the very serious attack on Ras Laffan, the LNG processing plant, on March the 18th, I believe it was, which knocked out 17% of Qatari LNG product, and the impact of that will be felt for years. It will take years to replace those plants. They call them trains. They're not actually trains. It's a gigantic conveyor belt that liquefies natural gas into a form where it can be shipped and exported. And they are incredibly complex bits of machinery. That will severely impact the whole Qatar economy for several years going forward. So that was whammy number one. Whammy number two, of course, was the fact that Qatar is entirely dependent on Hormuz transit for its exports. And as we've seen just in the past 24 hours, Hormuz transit is by no means guaranteed, despite ceasefires, memorandums of understanding, and ongoing peace talks in Switzerland. We saw attacks in the past couple of days, actually, an attack on a Qatari LNG tanker, and as well as another couple of ships. And overnight, U.S. forces responded with attacks on Iran, on what they say were missile sites and port facilities. They say they've taken out another 60 small boats. You have to wonder how many small boats has Iran got, because they keep taking them out at the rate of 60 or 70 per attack. But that, was the basis of my, prognosis for Qatar. It's going to have quite a tough time recovering.
It is the case, isn't it? And I think framing it as an economic loser is slightly dramatic, but it is the case that
you're right. It is slightly dramatic. Yeah,
I know on my part. But Qatar's economy is more vulnerable, arguably, than its regional peers, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. And you're right. Look, I did get a bit of headline-itis here. Economic loser, because of course Qatar has got incredibly deep pockets, 500 odd billion in the QIA, for example, and the Qatar Investment Authority, its sovereign wealth fund, and of course this bolsters the economic impact when you have that kind of cash lying around.
That's a $500 billion fund.
That's $500 billion, yeah. One of the biggest in the Middle East, one of the biggest sovereign wealth funds in the world. That gives you a lot of upholstery, if you like. Sure. But even so, it is looking at a year's foregone economic growth. In fact, the worst case estimate for GDP this year is for a 14% contraction. And by any measure, that is recession. That's quite a severe recession. So they will lose a year's economic growth. They will lose 17% or so of their LNG exports going forward for at least a couple of years. So, this is not good. As I say, a double whammy that other countries in the region did not suffer.
It's interesting because for years, Qatar has been kind of a broker or a middleman, kind of talking to all sides, global superpowers, regional factions, sort of a diplomatic omnichannel really, in a lot of ways. Is that approach something of an economic liability now, do you think?
Well, they've done very well at this, haven't they? And it's
been very successful.
Yeah, and these kind of people are essential in the world. It's playing the kind of role that Switzerland did. A venue, a neutral venue for diplomacy, and of course that is needed. It's always better to jaw than to war, as somebody said. But in the current environment, I think to some degree Qatar is having to choose sides. Qatar shares this gas field in the Gulf with Iran. There are economic interests, their mutual economic interests that they have to sort between them in order to keep that North Field going.
Yep.
At the same time, it is a close ally of the USA. The Al Udeid Air Base is in Qatar, the biggest air base in the region. Which has made it a target, and that's why they went for Ras Al Khaimah for sure, to teach them a lesson. So Qatar is still playing a big role in the peace talks, facilitating contacts between the two sides. But going forward, will it have to choose sides definitively one way or the other? That's a big question for the country too.
Okay. You mentioned this just now, but it's so important, I think. Other Gulf states are aggressively developing alternative land bridges or pipelines. Okay, but Qatar's export route is wholly dependent, really, on the Strait of Hormuz. Is the energy security narrative still a viable pillar for growth in Qatar, or is it more of an albatross? No.
It has no alternative. There is no alternative. LNG exports have been the main dynamo driver of the economy for the past couple of decades. They have sunk billions into this, and it has been very successful. They are one of the dominant forces in the global LNG market. But there is no alternative. They haven't diversified, really beyond LNG exports. The economy is still dependent on that. And as you say, Tim, you cannot export LNG by pipeline. Yeah. Actually, I say cannot. Some people think you can somewhere along the line, but it will cost billions and billions and billions, to develop that kind of infrastructure. And where would it go? It would have to go through Saudi Arabia or through the UAE. And that would involve quite a lot of regional diplomacy too. So there is no easy solution for them. There is no workaround like other countries have. They have to get the Strait of Hormuz cleared, and that is problematic, as we've seen just recently.
In the business world, stability is the currency that matters, right, in business. So if the international perception is that Qatar is a regional friction point, if you like, even if that's unfair, what might that mean for long-term FDI, foreign direct investment, into their non-hydrocarbon sectors?
Into regional non-hydrocarbon sectors.
Regional, yeah.
I think that the world is kind of sitting back and taking a look at this region again. Right. So far, the big ratings agencies, the big investment banks, the people whose opinion matters when it comes to FDI, they have not downgraded the region. They are keeping their ratings, and we have seen some FDI inflows. But longer term, that has to be a question mark. I mean, this is not directly relating to investment, but I noticed in The Economist newspaper just yesterday, they had an assessment of the desirability of places to live, and Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha had been high on this list, and they've all fallen back in the last 6 months, and that's a direct consequence of the war. Now, if you can't get people to live there, then that's another break on foreign direct investment going in as well. So the longer it goes on, I think the more people will begin to question FDI. It will still flow, and there will still be huge mega deals going on, but the overall level of activity will have to come in question. We see both DIFC in Dubai and Abu Dhabi Global Market down the road have both reported strong numbers even during the war. But let's see how long that goes on.
It goes without saying, Frank, that we all want a peaceful resolution. Of course, we do, to the situation that we've seen in the last 4 months or so. But so many questions that need to be broached. And bottom line, well, let me ask you this: what does this all mean for the Qatari fiscal deficit and the long-term cost of borrowing?
As I said, Qatar has deep pockets. They just recently reported quite a significant fiscal deficit, the first one for a long time.
That's right.
But it's not just about Qatar. It is about the region. And look, I mean, many people in the West, in the USA in particular, probably don't know Qatar from the UAE from Saudi Arabia. So it is a general regional perception as much as a Qatari one. Look, I mean, other countries in the GCC have also been impacted, quite severely. Kuwait, has also been affected by Hormuz dependency, if you like. I haven't got round to Kuwait yet in my little series of the economic consequences of the peace.
Well, when are you heading there?
I'm hoping to be there soon. But look, the jury is out on the region. There is huge self-confidence here. You know this, Tim, from living here.
Sure.
That things will get better, resilience, recovery, and people are planning for a Q4 upsurge in activity. And look, I'm sure where there is a will, there is a way, and I think that will be coming back. I mean, I see it myself in business activity. Both here in Abu Dhabi, things that I'm involved in. Saudi Arabia, which is by far the biggest economy and by far the biggest energy producer, they have had a relatively good war, if you like, in terms of not suffering severe physical damage to energy infrastructure. But there is also now a question mark on Saudi's fiscal well-being going forward. They have spent a lot of money on Vision 2030 and the other giga projects, and a period of economic downturn will not do those prospects any good at all. So they'll have to go back into capital markets and borrow, quite big time. And I mean, a few years ago, the prospect of a Saudi budget deficit, was mind-blowing, but it's a regular occurrence now. So the outlook is changing,
The geopolitical risk premium, that phrase we use all the time, just how permanently has that changed, do you think, or is it even permanent, in how investors view the Gulf, broadly speaking?
Well, it's useful to look at this through the oil price, basically, because since the war, we were ticking along before February the 28th, round about $70, $75 a barrel. It shot up in mid-March to 126, 130. It touched intraday, I believe. but has since back around 75, although it's up a couple of dollars overnight on the strength of these attacks.
Yeah.
So it is back around 75. Now, a lot of analysts think that actually there isn't very much geopolitical risk in that price at all. And they're asking why. Why hasn't the price gone up further? There is a thing that oil traders love to look at called the Hamilton Oil Supply Shock Index. Right.
I'm not even going to ask who Hamilton was.
He's a professor of economics at San Diego University in California.
Okay.
But he has developed this thing named after himself, how modest, that measures the strength of economic shocks from oil price rises, going right back to the 1970s. So, the first one was the Western embargo as a result of the Israeli war in 1973.
Yep.
Then the Iranian Revolution, then the first Gulf War, then the invasion of Iraq. And all these things have affected oil supply, and they all have an economic impact. Now, sorry, long way around to saying that this one so far has been one of the gentler ones of all those series of events. And you would have thought, given the impact that we're experiencing here, and the way it's been talked about, the IEA, the International Energy Agency, call it the biggest oil shock in history. But actually, it didn't drive the oil price up as far as you might expect. Now there are reasons for this, which we can talk about this too if you like. So far it hasn't been as bad as people thought. So the geopolitical risk, it looks enormous to us. There are missiles flying across the sky. Yeah. But in global economic and energy economic terms, it has not been as bad as people suspected.
So even though, that's a reasonably rational kind of reaction, isn't it? I suppose, geopolitically.
Yeah.
Which, as you say, living here is kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
So irrational at the same time, from our standpoint, I suppose. It's interesting. I was going to ask you, are oil and gas markets reacting rationally? But you kind of answered the question.
Well, look, some people say markets always react rationally, don't they? Of course, the hidden hand, Adam Smith and all that. But, tell that to a market that's in meltdown, as we've seen, in 2009 and earlier crises. They don't always react rationally. But in current circumstances, there were factors that mitigated the shock. This Hamilton shock.
Yeah.
And those were primarily the fact that the US is now the biggest oil producer in the world and can pump the stuff out, at a hell of a pace and export it too. So there's a lot of American oil swishing around. The Gulf, of course, we didn't talk about this yet. The fact that both Saudi Arabia and the UAE managed bypasses of Hormuz and, did pretty well getting out a big chunk of their normal exports. Yeah. And thirdly, and perhaps the biggest one, is that China stopped buying round about the middle of March. When the oil price was going up, China quite dramatically cut its oil imports. So there was less demand, therefore the price wasn't going up as fast. And a big amount. They went down from about 12 to 8 million barrels a day reduction. Those were the factors that meant we had a slightly mitigated impact on global oil markets. But are they rational? Look, have you ever been in a room full of oil traders? There's nothing rational about them. I absolutely promise you.
That's your experience. Let's take an overview, if you like. Which of the Gulf economies are best positioned if we do see regional tensions elevated, as we've seen slightly overnight, for example?
Right, you'd have to say those countries that have some kind of Hormuz bypass, some kind of workaround.
Yeah.
As I said, that's the UAE with the pipeline that goes from Habshan to Fujairah, where they're doing pretty well there. They're around about 3.4 million barrels a day going through that. There is another pipeline being built. That's pretty close to pre-war levels. When the next pipeline is built, they can probably reach 5 million, which is their post-OPEC target.
Yeah.
That's gone well. They're also getting some barrels out via sea, through the southern Hormuz transit, the one by the Omani coast.
Yeah.
And that's an intriguing little trade going on there. Some of these things go off, some of these ships go around dark, they turn off their signals. And maybe some of them pay a toll. I'm not saying the UAE's paid a toll to the Iranians, because with sanctions reimposed, that would now be illegal, wouldn't it? But
there's a lot talked about, I know.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So the UAE's done pretty well, for those reasons. The UAE is also the most diversified economy in the region, so it has other things going on, basically. Saudi Arabia has been pretty successful getting stuff to Yambo on the Red Sea coast. Although I note in recent days there's been a flicker of activity in Yemen by the Houthis, who are now threatening Red Sea shipping again. I speak to Iranians who regard the Houthis as their kind of ultimate weapon. It's their next level of escalation, not ultimate, but their next level of escalation.
Okay.
So that that could affect Red Sea transit via Yambo. But so far, the Saudis have been doing pretty well there. Their main constraint, it seems, is portside capacity in Yanbo itself. They can't load the stuff fast enough. They can pump it through from the eastern oil fields, but they can't, get it onto ships fast enough. So, these will all be, post-war investment targets. They'll put more money into all those things.
Yeah.
So those two, the ones that haven't, apart from Qatar, who I've spoken about, and giving a fair bashing. Kuwait, of course, are totally dependent on Hormuz too. Iraq, although not in the GCC, is also fairly Hormuz dependent, although it has a northern pipeline going up through Turkey and Syria. Oman, now, there's an intriguing one, because in terms of geography, Oman has all the advantages. Most of its coastline is east of Hormuz.
Yeah.
And it has some big ports there too, Salalah, Duqm, others, where they can export lots of stuff. Oman itself doesn't produce much oil, in the scheme of things, but it does produce some. Oman can position itself much like the eastern coast of the UAE as the next area for big hub development in the Gulf region without having to go through Hormuz. So that's a little regional survey, really.
Which is appreciated. I had a hypothetical for you. It was almost a job opportunity. It's not a job I can offer, but let's take this as
I love job offers.
I'm sure.
I love them.
You're an advisor to Qatar, to the Economic Ministry, the Ministry of Economy in Qatar. For a moment, who knows if they come calling? What's the one thing you advise to not do? What's your advice at the moment?
To not do?
To not do, or
you have to advance the diversification plans, which are much less advanced than the UAE, even compared to Saudi Arabia. They are less advanced. You have to do that. Explore the technology of how you might export LNG non-ship. It's expensive. It will require a lot of investment and a long timeline. But, maybe it's there. Who knows? And look, thirdly, I said that maybe they have to take sides, but they have been pretty good at being neutral. I would advise them to maintain that stance. Really, try. Okay. I'm not saying play both sides, but talk to both sides.
Yeah,
and to advance that position. They have a stack of money in the sovereign wealth fund, which can see them through this slowdown. Use that wisely too. Perhaps more should be spent on domestic investment and recovery and infrastructure repair. That will have to happen. Than on external investments in big US projects or big European projects or big Asian projects.
Always fascinating to hear from you, Frank. I know you're going to be coming in every couple of weeks,
sure, Tim,
which I appreciate.
Yeah.
No, you'd be welcome. And one of the truly great job titles as well, Editor-at-Large. I love that.
Thank you.
It's been good to have you here. Frank Kane is Editor-at-Large, AGBI, Arabian Gulf Business Insight. Be good to talk to you again.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to Mira Business FM for more interviews like this.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the Morning Drive. Property news. Mario Volpe is Senior Manager at Eva Real Estate here in Dubai. He is a newspaper columnist. He is a podcaster. He's a voice known to many on the Dubai Property Podcast as well. So it's you're a voice known to us as well, Mario. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Nice to see you. A little bit devastated for Egypt this morning, I have to say.
Me too. But I have to say, I was more devastated selfishly for myself.
Okay.
Because I did something stupid yesterday. I
can't believe you did anything stupid ever.
No, we just moved. And I was told when the Etisalat guy came to do the internet,
right?
You're supposed to have a bigger router. Where is it? And then I realised that it was in the ceiling of the previous place. So I went to retrieve it, thinking that I was then going to use that router instead of the ones that we've got.
Right.
So I unplugged it, okay, and I plugged the new one, the bigger one in, and nothing happened. And then my wife told me, no, that's supposed to go in the ceiling, not on the floor.
Right.
So I just put everything back, unplugged and plugged back in.
Right.
And then the router didn't work very well. And for about 20 minutes, I was struggling, thinking I wish I hadn't touched my internet because it was working perfectly.
Right.
Anyway, got it to work about 20 minutes before the game, and then just the buffering. Oh, my God, I don't know what happened. So I was watching 3 seconds of football and then, let's say, 20 seconds of just still.
Yeah.
And it was that stop, start, stop. So that's why I was annoyed. So I didn't really get to see it, even though I was watching it.
That's infuriating when that happens as well, isn't it? I know.
And so my wife went to bed because she hates football anyway. And I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm just playing on my phone. Well, you could do that on the sofa with me, at least. And she said, well, I hate football, so no. And I said, but I'm not even watching it. Look at it. And then she just laughed at me.
Which is a familiar thing for a wife to do.
Yeah, so all these dodgy decisions that I read about this morning, accusations of FIFA favoritizing, is that the word?
It's a good word.
Of Argentina or unfavoritizing Egypt or whatever, these decisions. I didn't see anything. I missed 3 goals. I mean, I saw the first goal,
right?
But the others, and then because it was buffering so much, then the TV, I kept reloading, and every time I went back, there was another goal which I'd missed.
This is not a pleasurable experience for you. Do you know what I did? This is almost as bad. I didn't have a buffering issue, I got to say. But I watched the first half. I thought, this is magnificent.
Okay.
This is a great return.
Yeah,
I've got nothing against Argentina, but I love the idea, or I did, of Egypt going through for Mo Salah, obviously, and just as a nation. And then my dad calls me, and then I've got work to do. So I called my dad back at halftime, and I'm talking to him, and it went into the second half, and then I thought, I'll just get on with the work, and I went in, and there were 80 minutes. It was 83 minutes, and it was 2-2. And just as I walked in, it's 3-2. I missed the 3 Argentina goals. All the excitement.
It's about the same then, yeah.
Oh, it's just
for different reasons.
What a game, though. I mean, the World Cup, I've got to say, as much as it's in the US and they're not a footballing nation, they're a soccer nation, aren't they? Or they think they are. There's been some amazing games.
No, it has been, and what makes it much better as well is I've got the team at Eva to sort of get involved a bit,
right,
by organising an office sweep, sweepstake, which is a very British thing, and often they didn't know. Well, they didn't know what it was. They thought they could pick their own team, and I said, no, it doesn't work like that. You've got to put your hand in a hat and sort of randomly select something. I was, I don't want to do that.
What have you put in the hat, Mario?
No, I put the teams.
Mario's other hand in the hat.
However, I wasn't great. My 3 teams were Scotland, Saudi Arabia, but Morocco. So I'm still in. So yeah.
Who knows? I mean, that could be interesting there.
But the funny thing was that one of the ladies who said, "Okay, I'll do it," she paid her few dirhams, put all the names in this waste paper bin, shaking it, and one of the tickets jumped out and landed on the rim, and she said, "I'll have that one."
Oh,
okay.
It was France.
It was France. Yeah. So she's sitting pretty, I guess, because I can't see Morocco beating France as much as I'd love them to. I don't know.
I
Let's
think
see.
if anybody can, Morocco could maybe do it.
You know, you've got to have France playing really badly on the night and Morocco really playing well, and all the decisions going your way. So listen, it's possible in football that anything is possible. As we saw yesterday, I mean, 2-0, kneeling towards the end, and then with Messi missing the penalty. I mean, even that, it was so funny. He's putting the ball down, okay, I'm watching. All of a sudden, he takes the run up, he hits the ball, and then the buffering started. So I never even saw that. But the way it was as if like VAR had stopped the TV for me, right, to just look. And I could see the sort of trajectory of the ball, and I thought, keeper's going to save that. And about 20 seconds later, it comes back. And yes, and of course, as it stops, it starts from where it ended. Yeah. So the game has gone on. I'm so far behind as well. It was just a nightmare.
It's like being in another universe.
It was really, yeah.
But that's just your life, isn't it?
Yes, alternate.
We've got a lot to talk about today because, and I thought we could talk about some of the real estate news in the last kind of 6 or 7 days to start with. There's quite a lot to run through. Let's start, and then a little bit later, we were going to talk about AI and technology. That was something we touched on last week. But I want to talk to you about the questions that you need to ask if you're going to buy in Dubai or buy in the UAE. Basically, okay. Well, I've got a list of things, and I want to see what your thoughts are on that. But let's start with this. Rent's mostly dropping in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah, but Ajman, this is a remarkable figure, up 57%. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a good number, and I think it's the fact that Ajman is probably the cheapest emirate when it comes to rents, potentially even sale values as well. And I think it's just a migration. I mean, people are looking for value. They're now seeing a lot more transportation spending, and they're probably looking to the future and thinking, well, if I get in early enough, I'll be able to lock in some good rents and then still commute in. I mean, nobody knows, obviously, where people are working, but one can assume that if they're not working in Ajman, that they're going to be working in Dubai. And so they're just going that little bit further. I've worked in places where individuals have commuted in every day from Ajman. And, of course, when there's traffic, it can be a bit challenging. However, they then look at me and say, "Yeah, but I'm paying like a third of what you're paying in rent, so it's kind of all worth it." So I think it's just the fact that people have migrated. Well, obviously they migrate to Sharjah, and then a lot of these people, I suppose, have just gone that little bit further and have landed in Ajman, and hence why their prices have continued to rise, whereas perhaps the others have softened a little bit.
Well, I guess as well, particularly since COVID, companies are maybe a little bit more flexible with timings.
And office, working from home. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that kind of makes some sense, doesn't it? How's your new place, by the way? Is Mrs. Volpe, does she find it to be acceptable?
She loves the place, right. But she just says I have too much stuff. And what was really quite funny is on Friday, we had the packers in. They decided to pack on the Friday, and then we moved on the Saturday, which was good because last time we ran out of time.
Right.
But I'm at work, and I kept getting these messages and these photos of my clothes and shoes and stuff with rings around them saying, I'm going to get rid of these, I'm going to get rid of these. And I said, just don't do that. I'm at work. First of all, no, don't touch my stuff.
Yeah, don't touch it.
And she said, but you've not worn these shoes for a while. But, in Italy we have a saying, we don't know what shoes we're going to wear tomorrow. Like, it's just a saying, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
But, she's come over here to sort me out, and she's definitely just annoyed me.
You do realise that we record these segments.
Well, it's okay. She doesn't listen to this anyway, so it's all right.
Yeah, but that's going to become the Instagram reel.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. All right, so...
But other than that, she's loving the place.
She's happy. Yeah. Well, that's the main thing, I suppose. Another story I wanted to bring up with you, aside from, rent softening in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah and Ajman doing so well... the flexi rent rollout. Now, we've talked about this. I think it was a couple of weeks ago we were talking about this. But it's now gone live. So this is now a thing that I mean, it's still a wait and see thing. So we see which landlords hop on the train, etc. Because it's came out late June, allows tenants with certain developers to pay on a monthly, quarterly, or you can choose maybe semi-annual basis rather than the check structure. We have, as you know, 11 developers partnering with the DLD. And it's kind of a wait and see period. But this is live now, and I'm just wondering, post-summer, when there's a little bit more data and we see perhaps other landlords coming on, if this is going to change this kind of traditional check thing that we've seen for so long.
Yes, but I think the key here is all about adoption.
It is, yeah.
And that's where we'll see the difference. With so many, I mean, obviously individual landlords not having to utilize this. This is company or institutional landlords that I think are being guided in a way or have said, yes, we will adopt it. When I look at the move that I've just done, I never even brought it up because I knew what offers had come in and I knew the owner was only looking at 1 or 2 checks.
Okay.
And so from that perspective, the only sort of negotiating tool that I had was to say, okay, I'll pay you 1 check at this price or 2 checks at that price. I mean, it's marginal. For me, it was marginal. It's when landlords like this gentleman will actually feel the pressure from the market to do it is when I think that adoption will come in. And it's going to take time. But I think it's amazing that it's even started. Yeah. Because it was a bit of something that you wouldn't, it was a no-go area completely. This is what the landlords did because there was no credit referencing, there was no financial information. And I've mentioned here and on other podcasts that if the tenant themselves sort of volunteered to give information about themselves, that often would help. But again, even that's alien. The landlord just wants his money. It's as simple as that. Yeah. And he doesn't really then care what goes on afterwards. During the period of the tenancy, you can pretty much, within reason, behave or live as you want. And as long as you give it back in the manner that it was given, then everything's fine. So the fact that they've adopted it now for me is a major step forward, and it will be a wait and see. But for me, it's the individual landlords' adoption rather than these institutional landlords or developers or companies. I suppose if a real estate company adopts it, then for them to take any listings on, it would be a prerequisite from that landlord that they should then be flexible and offer these terms. That could be a way of rolling it out because there's only literally a handful. I think Rocky Real Estate is one.
Wassell Properties is one.
But you see, I see Wassell Properties as a developer rather than a brokerage. I might be wrong. I think Harbour Real Estate is another one. I think I'm not sure. Modern Real Estate, Dubai World Real Estate are in there. So anyway, as long as brokerages adopt and have a strategy that any listings they take on for rent, the landlord kind of must follow suit, then I think that rollout will naturally take place. And then what will happen is that tenants, if they come across a landlord who says, I want 1 check, will just shun that. And so it will be market forces in the end that will change the individual landlord who says, no, I want 1 check or 2 checks or whatever.
Yeah, and it's hard to see that, and I think you're right. You need time for that. But the other side of this is, will landlords start to see this, flexible payments, if you like, as a tenant retention tool? So and would sacrifice that big lump of cash flow?
I guess it depends on it depends on the landlord's circumstances as well. Yeah, but I think it will, because if the number of tenants that are prepared to rent on a 1 check basis diminishes, then that rental pool, if you like, of clients will disappear. So the landlord won't have any other choice. And that's the bit I was trying to say, is as more people will start to go for this unit rather than that unit, purely and simply because of the payment terms. And let's say they're the same price, because it isn't about the price. It's about
it's not about price at all.
liquidity.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about having day-to-day money to spend on things. And if you've spent a whole year up front in your property, great. But if you haven't got food, money to buy your food, what are you going to do? So, I mean, I know that was an extreme comment, but it's the reality of it all if you've spent all your money in one way. So, like I always say, we don't get paid a year up front, so why should we pay rent in a year up front? I've never understood it. Coming from a UK scenario where, that they have credit checks, credit referencing, but of course what that does is it prolongs the process. The one good thing about the UAE is that you see something for rent and you can actually move into it literally a few days later. Whereas that's unheard of, especially in London, where it takes time and you are beholden to people replying to your requests. So, for example, employers' references, bank references, previous landlord references, all these things mean there's a human at the end of it that has to, it's in his inbox and has to deal with it. And that's why I'm saying it's prolonged. And you could see that right at the beginning when British tenants, for want of a word, would come in and they would say, we're looking to rent a place. And the first question I always ask, well, when are you looking to move in? Oh, let's say, so we're in July. Oh, I don't need to move in until September. And we had to then educate them that here in Dubai, things happen very quickly. So if you're looking to move in September, come and see me at the end of August, not in July. And they said, but, I said, and then we would have to explain, there's no credit referencing. And by the way, you're paying the fee. What do you mean? It's the landlord that pays a fee? No, not in the UAE, et cetera, et cetera. So we had to educate a lot of people when they were coming over for the first time, especially these ones who have a job and maybe aren't using relocation services, where obviously they would be informed of the do's and don'ts. Yeah, okay. So a lot of the time they were quite shocked that it happened so quickly. And of course the payment terms, etc. And then they would go away and come back much nearer the time. So the first question any agent should ask, especially if it's a British tenant, a prospective tenant, is when do you need to move in by? Because they might be showing properties, and these guys are, not that they're not ready, they just think the system takes so long that it might be better that they ask that timing question.
No, that's right. But I mean, that in and of itself is going to change a little bit, because we've now got nationwide tenant credit scores as well, just coming into effect. So landlords, in theory, can now check a renter's financial track record before signing. And this is Etihad Credit Bureau. That's an announcement this week.
Yeah, so that's the positive side of the announcement that came in last week. So if we look at this flexi rent, you could look at it that it was very tenant friendly. It was tenant. The advantage was with the tenant. Sure. And you started to think, well, what's in it for the landlord? And I struggled to really find, other than the rental pool would be larger. Mm-hmm. But from a financial point of view, I don't know whether these people are good for the money or not as a landlord. This particular announcement has now rebalanced that argument. So this now is very much landlord friendly, or heavily weighted towards the landlord, because now, in order for him to make that decision, or her to make that decision to accept 12 checks from Tim Elliott, for example, I can now have a look at your credit score. Sure. Quite how to do that, I'm not sure, but there must be a way. But I can then see whether you've paid your bills on time, whether you've ever been in arrears. Unfortunately, losing one's job is always that catalyst that you can never really predict or whatever. But if you can see a pattern that the individual always pays on time, is good for the money, has a job, then the chances are your rent's going to get paid.
I mean, you get the chance to ask the questions, don't you? And you can look, and if somebody can say, look, that's the point, I lost my job and I had to move, but up until that point, you can see. Correct. So that there is a record there. The thing about this as well, Mario, is this is a federal initiative. This is UAE-wide.
Yeah, well, that's great, because it helps, obviously, every single emirate. If you look at each emirate, they've always got something slightly different. Abu Dhabi's rental is slightly different to Dubai's. Dubai's is different to Ajman and Sharjah and so on. So this being a federal movement, if you like, or announcement, just unifies the whole thing, that every landlord and tenant is created equally in some respects. So now you can really see the value of the individual through facts and figures, rather than just, I always pay on time when you put your hands up.
I believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do the mad waving your arms around.
And so now you can actually see whether the person was, telling the truth or not.
Yeah, very Orwellian of you there.
I think this is good. This just rebalances out, and it just means, this is what, the second or third change to rents this year, or changes
in a matter of weeks.
Exactly. So they're bringing it more in line with, dare I say, more Western practices. And as Dubai and the UAE or whatever just opens up to the world, people then can recognise. Whereas sort of 10 years ago, etc., it was a bit alien to them about this one check payment or few checks to pay your rent rather than in 12 checks.
Yeah, it's like professionalisation. I think that is a word. I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm going with it. It's almost a re-engineering kind of thing, isn't it? It's a quiet re-engineering, which is a good thing. That's a story this week. There's something else I wanted to bring up with you. Just let me find it here. Here you go. Abu Dhabi property sales. Headline, big headline, huge percentage, surging 174%, Abu Dhabi property sales. Just under 85 billion dirhams, H1 2026. So if you look at those figures, it looks like Abu Dhabi is going to have a record year.
Yes.
Based on those figures.
Correct. But I would always say, look everything not with rose-tinted glasses. Be cautious. The majority of those are off-plan deals.
78%.
There you go.
Yep.
And the majority of them are investors.
True.
So the health of a property market, in my opinion, is based on end user traffic. And that is not what these numbers are telling me. So I would say to any seller right now or any investor, make hay whilst the sun shines. This isn't a prediction that Abu Dhabi is going to crash or anything like that. Far from it. But just be cautious as to who's buying, and don't jump on that FOMO like we had before. If you do your due diligence and you do it carefully and you understand what you're buying, you understand perhaps why you're buying and the exit strategy, especially if you're an investor, then please go ahead and do it, because it's an amazing market. They're no longer just the emirate that was watching Dubai do whatever. They are. There's definitely momentum there, but the but is, look at the secondary market sales. Are people moving to Abu Dhabi to live in it rather than just invest in it? You've got areas like Saadiyat, Yas, Al Hudriyat Island, and Al Reem Island, who are the forerunners for all these numbers here.
Yeah.
Only yesterday we had Shoba come to discuss about their villa project, which again, villas are a hot topic at the moment, and the location is amazing, not far from the airport, but of course it's not far from the canal, the Yas Canal, and obviously Yas Island. So all that area, there's a lot of activity. Al Hudriyat as well. Mudon is another developer that is developing this island, and has had tremendous successes tail end of last year and of course beginning of this year. So these numbers are coming out now from the first quarter, which obviously takes into consideration March, but the heavy lifting was done in January and February for these figures.
This is first half.
Yeah.
Not first quarter, it's first half.
Oh, it's first half. Okay.
It is. It's interesting because, and you're absolutely right, the perception of the region at the moment, are people moving here? I get that. But last year, at the same point, it was nowhere near this 80. It was 84.49 billion dirhams. Okay, for H1 2026. Full year last year, 91.9. So very. I mean, it's a very.
People have
strong showing.
realised that Abu Dhabi is definitely one to look at. They're no longer in the shadow of Dubai at all, and I think they've done a great job there, quietly looking and understanding, perhaps learning from whatever mistakes, if any, that Dubai was making. And of course, forging ahead, and it's the capital at the end of the day. So I'm not surprised. However, the rate of increase is very, very large.
Yeah. Do you know what I did yesterday? I plugged those figures into AI, okay, and I said, summarize this. And it was interesting what AI spat back at me, because it came up with this statement, like a bottom line statement. AI, as we all know, you can't trust everything it says. But if you provide AI the information and ask for a summary or a particular breakdown, it's very useful for that. But this is what it said. Abu Dhabi is no longer Dubai's understudy.
Okay.
Which I thought was an interesting phrase, a bit of phraseology. A near tripling of sales value in 6 months. Villa prices up 41%. 2/3 of activity packed into 4 island destinations is a market moving at full speed. And I thought, that's a pretty good way to sum it up.
Definitely. And the 4 islands, I assume, are the ones I've just mentioned.
Exactly. And in that order, actually, the way you mentioned it as well. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Well, AI, I always say take it with a pinch of salt, because I have known them to make some very big errors, especially on laws. But it is a good guide. And they're able to regurgitate figures and understand what those figures are. And from that point of view, I think it's a useful tool. But like I said, Abu Dhabi has learned, or is learning, from the full speed ahead, the sort of going at 100 miles an hour that Dubai has always been. They've always been the more quieter, step back, look and learn. Now maybe it's the time for Abu Dhabi to shine, and who knows, probably will overtake Dubai if it hasn't already.
Could well be. Let's continue with some superlatives. Benghazi, 2 penthouses, 270 million dirhams. Those are the sales. So Dubai's ultra luxury keeping pace. These are penthouses at Benghazi Residences by Benghazi, Business Bay, international buyers. One was 200 million, second at 70 million. So in the series of big penthouse deals that we've seen, what was the one that was 550 million?
550, but there was a big question. There was a big question mark about that, because I certainly questioned the size.
Yeah.
It was 1,300 square feet, as far as I can remember.
Huge.
And 1,300 square feet is very small. 1,300 square feet. So yeah, it's not. It's small.
Square feet?
Yeah, not square meters.
That's remarkable.
It was tiny, and I actually questioned a person from Benghazi, and they couldn't answer me. So I wonder whether that was just a media play or something. I'm not questioning it now, but I was questioning it at the time, because it was a ridiculous dirham per square foot price. 550 million divided by 1,300 and something was something like 300,000 dirhams a square foot. No is the answer. So I question that one. These ones, different.
Yeah.
Because
surely that must be 13,000 square feet or 130,000. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
It did not make sense to me. We talked about it here, and I was submissive of it, and I was questioning it.
Yeah, I remember.
Well,
that was December. I think it was early New Year. Maybe we were talking about that.
I can't remember exactly
it
when it was, but anyway, it's definitely pre-conflict. But these, look, 200 million for one unit is still a huge sum. 70 million. What's 70 million nowadays? You look at it and think, 70 million.
It's a watch.
Wow, what a watch, yeah. The thing is that you got to look at who. I'm not even going to say who's buying there, because I've got a question mark as to whether they actually bought, but who are the celebrities that are there?
Neymar Jr.
Well, exactly.
Andrea Bocelli.
My favourite tenor.
Aymeric Laporte.
Another Spanish footballer,
Apparently, I don't know.
Look, I think the strategy from Benghazi is amazing to attract these kind of buyers, which I'm not for 1 minute suggesting they didn't pay for their property, but I'm pretty much saying I'm sure they didn't pay full price for it, because the sort of upshot is that if Andrea Bocelli or Neymar Jr. is now potentially going to be a resident, that's going to attract a certain caliber of person to that development. And it's a selling point, isn't it? So Benghazi, I think, have recognised that, and I'm sure that the agents of these stars and celebrities have worked a deal out that if you want to use my name, then it's going to cost you, and that's going to be in the cost of the property potentially. So good numbers from Benghazi. I think Benghazi has been an absolute amazing success story. I remember years and years and years ago when Benghazi were just good developers that built average properties with orange balconies or orange facades.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
that was kind of their
that
trademark.
was their thing, yeah.
And now they are definitely, with the collaborations they've had with Mercedes, with Bugatti, with Jacob and Co, if I remember rightly as well. Definitely, they are. They put themselves on the map from a luxury point of view. They've clearly stepped up their game, and is now coming to fruition. So, all credit to them. Amazing family, lovely family as well, and good product. So you can see that you can turn sort of the lower end of the market into upper end of the market in a very short space of time. When I think back,
It's their next level now.
They've done a great job. Yeah.
Yeah. Question for you, but just coming up, I want to talk to you about the questions that you need to ask before you buy a house. We'll finish off with that in a couple of seconds' time. But there was a question came in from, let me see, Chessie Lynn. Hi, Mario. You were talking about Ajman or other Emirates. I drive every day from Sharjah. I work in Dubai. Though tiring, rent is lower, but I notice new neighbours also working in Dubai. Given the demand, classic question really, do you think it's going to drive rent prices up? Obviously, more people doing it.
It already is.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the that was the headline that we had
In Ajman.
So
yeah,
correct,
sure. Yeah.
and Ajman is the only one that's bucking that trend. Everyone else is either softening or reducing down. So I think these are the early adopters. For the ones that are moving there now, I don't know how long this lady's been there, but they're seeing the fact that whilst driving to Dubai, well, certainly during the conflicts, I suppose the traffic got a bit easier, but if people are coming back, that traffic will definitely come back. But the government is spending. They're spending on roads, they're widening roads, and where there is a bottleneck, they find a solution. So today you might be stuck in a little bit more traffic, but tomorrow, hopefully, it'll be a breeze, and you'll just be in the car longer from the journey time, but moving and benefiting from, like I said, not even half rents, perhaps even a third of the rents.
No, I mean,
of the rents.
Look at the difference now that we've got flyovers around Studio City, Arabian Ranches, and moving down that way. It's a huge difference.
Well, I don't often go to the Northern Emirates, but a while back, you used to be called the National Paints Roundabout. It's not a roundabout anymore, it's a flyover.
Yeah.
So is it still called National Paints Flyover? I don't know, but
do you know? I think it's kind of colloquially known as National Paints.
There you go. So a bit like Defence Roundabout.
Where were you? I was just near National Paints. That's how it used to be.
World Trade Center Roundabout. They used to be called Defence Roundabout, if you remember that.
No, Trade Center Roundabout was Trade Center Roundabout. Defence Roundabout was what is now Junction. I guess it's Junction 1 now, isn't it? Where downtown.
Oh, okay, yes. I think, no, you're right.
Yeah,
Defence, that's right.
Well, downtown used to be like a big defence camp. It was like a big military camp, wasn't it?
See,
all those years
we're
ago.
showing our age.
Yeah, I know. Well, that happens whether you like it or not. So here you go. Questions to ask.
But it's nice actually that, I mean, we were just discussing about Ajman, and we get a question straight away, so that's good.
There you go. People are interested. Questions to ask before buying a house in Dubai. I've got like a few headings here, and then a few points.
Hit me, and I'll give you my comments on them.
So it's a tick, or it's like a or it's a right.
Okay.
Developer and paperwork. I'm going to start with here.
So off plan, yes.
Yes. Okay. So let's look before you do anything. Due diligence to start with, and tell me if I miss anything here. Check the developer's delivery record on projects. Look at their, if you can, financial stability. Look at the RERA certification before you jump into the property. From the legal side, confirm the unit's registered with the Land Department, Dubai Land Department, the DLD, that you will get a title deed and a COOD certificate. And also, the other side of this, check that escrow protections are in place. Have I missed anything there?
You haven't, but a lot of those things you don't need to check because the developer can't actually start officially selling a unit until escrow is actually in place anyway.
Okay.
These developers do take what they call EOIs, expressions of interest, which is just that. It's your expression of interest on that property where they do take a nominal amount of money, sometimes $10,000, 10,000 euros, 50,000 dirhams, something like that.
Right.
But the money isn't cashed. It's there for when they have the escrow, and that's when they can start the allocation. There are one or two exceptions. I won't necessarily go into those now, but generally speaking, you don't need to actually check whether it's got escrow because a developer cannot start selling unless escrow is in place. It's part of the Land Department criteria.
Okay. Well, that's good to outline.
So yes, all of those are correct, but I don't necessarily think.
But you don't have to worry about the escrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So an expression of interest, is that has to be a cash payment? Could you pay?
No, you write a check. You
write
a check which
right,
isn't
okay.
cash.
So it's not cash there.
No.
Right.
I mean, if you want to give cash, you can do that, although often developers won't necessarily take an expression of interest in cash because they've got to keep it somewhere.
Right.
Because that's kind of
just a form of surety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It just shows, look, I'm interested in this property, but I haven't picked a unit because a unit hasn't been offered to me yet. I'm just saying I would like to be part of it. And then that's when the allocations start, and that's when they start selling. And at that point, by the way, so if you've put an expression of interest down, and let's say that was, I don't know, a month ago or 3 weeks ago, and during that period you've changed your mind, or I don't know, you've spent the money, or something else has come along. When the developer or the agent calls you to say, right, we're ready for the allocation now, at that point you can actually say thanks, but no thanks, and you just get your money back.
Okay. Next one, financial questions, money questions. Okay, so price to start with. Don't be deceived by the price, the sticker price, if you like. You need to factor in things like, tell me if I've missed anything here, DLD registration, broker handover fees. So if you bought property that is listed at 1.5 million, let's say, it could be 1.6 rather than 1.5 or 1.65. You need to think about that.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's at least 6%. I would wager that if you budget between 6.5% and 7% of the purchase price to cover fees, then that's fine. Okay. It's not, as you say, it's not just that 1.5 million or whatever it is that you just mentioned. The end price is obviously more than that because fees are there. 4% DLD is the transfer fee, and 2% to the agent. Some of which attracts VAT. Some doesn't. Some doesn't. The 2% does attract VAT because it's a service. There's also fees for the trustee office, often 4,000 dirhams. And then other sort of knowledge fees that are attached, 520 dirhams as well. So all of these things it's not the nice part of buying a house, not the exciting part, but you've got to factor those in because without that, you can't actually buy it, as it were.
Okay. Running costs, and this is the thing. What basis do you work on? I looked this up, and this kind of was an average. Most developments seem to charge somewhere between, it's quite a wide number as well, 12 to 28 dirhams a square foot in service charges. Okay. It very much depends on amenities and location and everything else, but that's something you have to obviously factor in as well. Is that reasonable?
No,
it's
absolutely.
a broad band.
There's one or two on the lower side of that, but broadly speaking, that's quite a big band. So everything else falls into it. Okay. If you're buying a branded residence, for example, where there's a la carte services, or other services that are included, then clearly it's going to be, in the 20 dirhams plus, as it were, not in the teens.
Right.
But no, definitely that is something that has to be considered. But people don't. I can tell you now that I can't remember the last time people sort of say, well, what's the service charges?
Really?
We ask that as agents when we have developers come and give us presentations on their projects, and often that question is asked too soon because it may not even be decided yet. So they give you a bit of a range. But yes, those figures definitely are within the tolerance level.
Okay, and those annual charges as
Yeah.
well. If you're an off-plan buyer, you need to make sure that you understand the payment plan as well, whether it's 50/50 or 60/40 or even 70/30 in some cases.
That's really important because often people it depends why they're buying. And pre-conflict, we had a lot of what I call investors who just wanted to jump on this bandwagon that we were here, and within as low as, dare I say, 3, possibly even 6 months, wanting to sell on. Now, some were getting away with it purely and simply because, depending on the development, of course, but the momentum was there with the market. But buying an off-plan secondary can be a bit tricky, or should I say selling an off-plan secondary can be a bit tricky. Why? Because if the developer still has their own stock, you will be then competing with certain features that maybe you as an individual can't offer. So,
Right.
for example, DLD waiver. Right now, there are developers, or there are still developers that are waiving away that 4% charge, which obviously we said you've got to factor it in. But if the developer is not charging it, then clearly you don't have to worry about that. When you're buying through a developer, you don't have to worry about the 2% agency fee because the developer will pay the agent. So buying off plan is just the ticket price, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
apart from the sort of the OCUD registration, unless of course the developer is paying for it. So pre-conflict, they weren't paying for it. Post, they are. How long that lasts, I don't know. But if you're buying secondary market, then that 4% has to be paid, whether you're in a conflict situation or not. And that's why it becomes tricky buying an off-plan secondary, because you are trying to compete in the marketplace when potentially the developer might still have inventory to sell. It may not be the height, it could be low floors, it could be what I call the runts of the litter, where it's a few that have stuck around and nobody necessarily, they weren't the first to go, but people still have to factor those in. And there was one other point I wanted to make, actually, before we run out of time, which I'm not even sure that people are aware of this. And it's to do with the 4% transfer fee.
Okay.
This is nothing new, but it only appears in a market that is declining or where the prices are softening. So what we have right now, we have some properties that are being sold for less than what the seller paid for. I'm not going to use the word distress because that means different things to different people. But if you're selling something, at 4 million, but you paid 4.5, you're selling at a 500,000 dirham loss, to the benefit, obviously, of the buyer. It's a bit like having a sale. Sure. You're still getting the quality of what you need for less money. But what buyers don't seem to realize is that the land department does not recognize these reduced prices. And so therefore, when you're buying a property, especially if it's an off-plan, they will charge you the 4% transfer fee on the original price, irrespective of what you're paying for it.
Okay. It's a good point to make. I didn't realize that.
Well, many people don't. So we've got a sale at the moment which we're putting together. It's a villa. The gentleman bought it at 27 million. He put it on the market at 25 million, so making a 2 million loss. He has his own reasons for selling, obviously, and in the end, we finally agreed on a 24 million dirham deal. Agreed price. But as I say, the land department will charge that 4% on the 27 million, not on the 24, which the buyer is thinking, well, hold on a minute, I'm not paying 27 million. Well, that's your benefit. That's up to the owner. But the land department are saying no. Right. That's it. Take it or leave it. Okay. So I think it's a good point because it's a bit of a shock, because you're coming to pay and you think you're paying 4% on the purchase price when actually you're not, on distressed deals or deals where it's less than the actual OP.
And that's right. I mean, it makes a difference as well, because if you're buying something at that level, you're budgeting for certain things at certain times, at certain points. All right, then. I had a question coming for you. Let me just put this to you.
Did I throw you a little bit with that one?
No, the list is ongoing there. I appreciate that. It's something I didn't know. I like to learn, Maria. You know what it is. This is Lovey. I think it's Lovey, Lovi. Loved your discussion last week on the potential impact of Etihad Rail to real estate. Oh, yes. And of course, there's going to be an impact. Since we're expecting property prices to go up, given Abu Dhabi's Disneyland in a few years, and then we have Etihad Rail now, does it mean Abu Dhabi will go even higher than initially projected?
I think so, and that also goes to show how quietly they've been courting partners, people like, Walt Disney, major company, up there with Apple and all the rest of it. Yeah. So it's funny how they didn't, dare I say, get into bed with Dubai. They got into bed with Abu Dhabi, So quietly doing things like that. The rail is a definite. It'll move the needle forward. So all these infrastructure projects and all these projects that are coming, definitely Abu Dhabi will be going up there. So yeah, we're already seeing it. It's just going to solidify it. And like I said before, it could be that then Abu Dhabi overtakes Dubai if it hasn't already done so.
Final point on questions to ask before buying a house. Thank you, Lovely, for the question, by the way. This is I suppose it's the bottom line, really. If you would have a checklist, you would look at developer credibility, true cost, real, actual cost.
Sure.
Location.
Yeah.
Payment terms. Service charges. We didn't talk about yield, but yield is that. And then depending on what you're buying for, but you could also add on, I suppose, exit strategy as well.
Definitely. But the one thing you also haven't mentioned, especially if you're buying secondary market, is the reputation of the broker that you're dealing with.
There you go. And for that, you need somebody with some experience and many years in the business who doesn't take days off. Ever.
So bringing it back to other things, there are many very, very good real estate companies. There are many good people who have been in the industry a long time. Finding them can perhaps be a little bit of a challenge. But if you kiss enough frogs, you find your Prince Charming, don't you?
That's so true. Indeed. Mario Volpi is a podcaster. He's a newspaper columnist on all matters real estate, and he is a senior manager at Eva Real Estate here in Dubai. More years in the business than you could shake a stick at.
I think that's what they say, yeah.
Frogs. There's something in that. I've got to work harder at this. Mario, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Good to see you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the morning drive. For many UAE students, summer is unfortunately no longer a holiday. It's becoming a chance to maybe have an internship. You can learn new skills. You can boost your chances, perhaps, of landing a job after graduation. And as employers place a greater value on real-world experience, are students making better use of the summer break? There's a question. Dr. Anita Patankar is Executive Director at Symbiosis International University, Dubai, joins me in the studio. It's good to meet you.
Lovely to be here and excited about this conversation.
It's good to have you here. So look, the summer break used to be synonymous with downtime when I was a kid. Many years ago, I have to be honest, my summers were anything other than work. But
Mine
the thing
too.
is, I think there's been a big change. We are in the UAE, it's a high-growth economy. It's perhaps the summer, maybe the most productive quarter of the year for some students now, isn't it?
Well,
In work terms,
let
potential.
me just say, I don't think that applies to 100% of the students.
Okay.
I think you still have a reasonably good cohort of students who are not doing anything but lazing around, playing sports, watching movies, hanging out with your friends.
Okay.
I think what we are talking about, and universities tend to cater primarily to this group of students, are the ones who are ambitious about their own personal and professional lives.
Okay.
So let's focus on that, but let's also be aware of the fact that everybody is not wanting to learn a new language or get some certification or get an internship. They're just saying, let me play, let me learn a sport, let me do stuff that will help me, but not necessarily in my career growth. So I would say there's a good 20 to 30, if not more, percentage of people who are doing that. I think the UAE has a larger number of students who are focused on their careers because, and you may not agree with me, but I think their parents are more focused. If you look at the middle class, upwardly mobile parent, they focus a lot.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you in lots of ways. I think people look at the region maybe differently now, but I think if you've made the jump and come here, then maybe your attitude is a little bit more of a go-getting attitude.
Probably, I would say
Probably.
70%
That's
of the
fair.
parents are like that.
Yeah, okay.
You still have some who want to spend their summers the way they did,
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
and they've sent the kids to a good school. So it's good enough. I would say by the second last of the last year, I think everyone is career focused.
Right.
The first couple of years may not be. On a personal note, I do have to say, I don't know whether it's a good thing that young adults are so focused on what industry wants and what their career requires, because who knows what the future holds. We have absolutely no idea, which industries are going to survive. Technology is changing our lives so rapidly. Who knows, 5 years from now, what is going to happen and what are we training them for? But in that sense, I also understand that internships are a great way of just understanding how organizations work.
I mean, it's a very personal thing, isn't it? And, ambition is a very hard thing to put your finger on. I had a friend at school who, when we were 13, 14, said to me, I'm going to be a vet. That's what I want to be. I want to be a veterinary surgeon. That's how I'm going to go. And I remember looking at him thinking, but you're so bad at science. There's no way you're going to be a vet. You're stupider than I am. You're 13, 14. He's now a vet, has been a vet for a long time. So
And he's probably very successful.
I would think probably very good because it's more of a calling.
Yeah.
Some people are like that. I was never like that. I have long said I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And I still say that now. But it's not a one-size-fits-all. The one thing that we do know is that employers in Dubai, in the UAE, employers everywhere, struggle to find, they always say they've struggled to find graduates with that real-world readiness, don't they? So that's a perennial issue. So I suppose, we're encouraging more and more of these kind of placements so that you get that real world experience, because that's so key. Because when you enter the workplace, this is a new frontier.
Yeah. So this is a criticism that we've always received.
Yes.
From any employer, whether it's the government, in the NGO sector, whether it's the corporate sector, that your graduates are not employable, that your graduates do not get what we need. And we have to spend a lot of time and money on training them once we hire them. So this has always been a criticism that we've received. I think over the years, the pressure on universities to deliver, for lack of a better term, I'm just going to, odious term, but I'm going to say ROI for parents and students, not just financially, but also in terms of the time and the energy and the effort that you put into, getting a degree.
Yeah.
That pressure on universities is so strong that I think in the last 20 years, and we've been in Dubai for the last 2 years, and we came in with this agenda that our outcomes were future ready, industry ready graduates, which means a combination of getting industry experts into the classroom, getting them to be on our review boards for syllabus, curriculum, etc., but also offering lots of opportunities for industry projects, live projects, and then internships, volunteering in organizations during their events. And I think that is something that helps that partnership between academia and industry, where industry feels we are being responsive, because ultimately our graduates are their future. And therefore, whether it's design thinking, whether it's critical thinking, whether it's problem solving, they're also looking at us now that in addition to domain knowledge, we're also going to train our students in this. And then we're going to fill it up by also making sure that they get what companies need from them, so that when they join, they hit the ground running.
Okay. So do you think that have we seen in recent years the kind of summer internship thing, has that evolved from more of I'm going to check the box, I'm going to do that, my mum and dad will be happy, into more of almost a make or break career strategy? Has it become a critical kind of professional milestone, do you think? Because this is a really competitive market.
I think you still have 10 to 20% of students who are in university because of mommy and daddy's wishes.
I bet, yeah.
Okay?
I'd say it's probably
They're still
higher.
struggling with what's my calling? What do I want to do?
Right.
And this just gives them 2 more years of time to figure out life. And therefore, the internship is also a tick box. But I have seen at least 80, if not more % of students who are here because they're driven. I think careers and professional success have become such a big integral part of our self-identity that they're very focused on that. They're focused through school. They're focused on, that's my goal, by 40, this is what I want to do. And therefore, for them, it's not just the summer internship. They're looking for opportunities through the year. I have students in the Bachelor of Computer Applications and a BTech program, and they are in our offices all through the year saying, is there a project we can do? I just got this certification. I learned this. I'm happy to work on the weekends. And I find that I'm a little in awe, because I don't think I was ever that driven at that age.
I'm in awe of anybody with the energy to work at the weekends, Anita.
And they're happy to do that.
Right.
So I think it's become the distinctive feature. For example, you take an MBA, the average MBA at any good university is more or less the same.
Right.
In terms of domain knowledge, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the extras that distinguish one graduate from another. And I think one of the areas where students like to distinguish themselves from their other classmates is in this area, is what kind. I had a girl, student who deliberately chose, I think she did 4 internships during her 2-year master's program, and she deliberately chose different sectors. And she said, I will join an organization and they will not know what their future holds. They will want someone who's adaptable. They will want someone who's resilient. They will want someone who enjoys challenges. And therefore, when they look at this and what I've learned, I think it's giving me a leg up. And that's what you're hearing from a lot of students today, is that how do I distinguish myself? How do I make myself more valuable from day one?
That's somebody with real focus, by the way, that example. So when you talk to, you say you've got lots of professionals coming in, maybe corporate partners. What do they say to you that they're looking for in graduates? What do they really value when they report back to you on their student interns?
I think they're actually not looking too much for academic strength. Yes, the GPA counts because that's the first filter. Domain knowledge is now taken as a given. With technology, etc., that I feel has lost a little bit of its strength. I think they are looking for people who are great at problem solving, who are not afraid to voice a differing opinion, who are not afraid of the hierarchy and have confidence in their ability to, to judge situations, to do, to analyze data. So I think they're looking for these critical skills that are beyond domain. So they're looking at problem solving, critical thinking. They're looking at data analysis. They're looking at media literacy. They're looking at cross-cultural. I think they're looking at understanding how the world works in terms of economics, geopolitically, connecting the dots. I think that's what they're looking at. And this is based on the feedback that I've been getting from, employers who've hired our people. And they say, I really liked these 3. Do you have more like this?
Right.
Because I think that's the skill. At the undergrad level, I think people are looking at interns slightly differently.
Okay.
I think at the undergrad level, they're just looking for someone who's hardworking, sincere, happy to roll with whatever is thrown at them, ready to learn, and understands enough of the domain that they're able to actually perform certain tasks that groups have. So I can see this huge difference between organizations that want to hire or take as interns undergrads versus those who are taking interns who are, let's say, master's students or MBA students.
So it's much more about soft skills, adaptability, communication, attitude, that kind of thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that is, today, if you don't fit in, you're not going to grow. If you can't take a team with you, you're not going to grow. I mean, unless you're a genius in a particular skill that people are ready to overlook, the lack of all those social skills that people...
Then you're put in the box. Oh, that's Tim over there. Try and avoid him, but he's okay. Yeah.
But otherwise, yes. But at the same time, I'm saying that, the need to understand technology.
Yeah.
The need to understand how technology impacts. I mean, you don't have to be involved directly in the development of technology, but the understanding of how technology impacts every single function, and that you will be able to sit down with someone who works with technology and bring that gap, bridge the gap, or be the bridge between domain requirements and AI or technology. I think those are things that we are just expecting everybody to get.
No, I mean, that's understandable. Technology is
is
here.
AI is here. I mean,
to say that, isn't AI great? That's really not the point. It's just, there it is. Use it.
Yes.
Get on with it. No, I can understand that. So if a student lands a competitive internship here in the Emirates, right?
Yeah.
How does that sort of singular experience transform their CV? Do you think it kind of shortens the time to hire post-graduation. How much use is it really?
Oh,
do you think?
it shortens the period fantastically.
Okay.
I think organizations, HR departments, and they use a lot of AI tools to help them sift through all the applications that they receive. I think they are focused on what skills do these kids have. Classroom based, and however much we tell them that we have industry professionals teaching it, etc., I don't think they trust that much in it. But the minute you say they've worked here, 2 months,
Really?
3 months, and with the UAE and with Dubai specifically, because my experience is with Dubai, we also have the concept of extended internships. So it's not just a 2.5 month summer internship. If they like you, then they will say, we'd love to have you for an extended period of time. That extended internship becomes like a long interview, and sometimes students end up getting job offers. But it definitely shortens, takes you to the top of the list for hiring as an intern, because they're seeing value there. They're seeing that this is a student who's had a lot of experience that is going to be valuable to me, and therefore I probably have to do a little less of training. He will be or she will be more valuable and not just occupy a chair. Organizations also have their social responsibility for offering internships. So they also have those little tick boxes. But I think the minute they see internships, industry projects, live projects, value goes up immediately.
It's a remarkable story. It really is. What? Final question, because unfortunately we're at time. I apologise, but just a final question for you. And I feel quite strongly about this, and I wonder how you see this in terms of internships. We all hear the stories of the interns that are just expected to do some research that, as we were talking off air, that will never be used. It's just a tick box activity, or make the coffee. The horror stories that you hear.
Yeah.
But serious internships, as far as I can tell, they should be paid. There should be remuneration, should there not? Should that be an expectation for students?
I think they should be. I think organizations that have serious interns doing serious projects, not the bring my coffee and stuff like that, should pay. Why not? And I think it's a great gesture of professional behavior from an organization, that I value your work, I value your time, I value your ideas, and as an organization, I value it financially as well. I think for the student, it's huge, because they are now learning that effort should be compensated and that my effort is not for free. Many higher education institutions, for example, our MBA institute, if you tell me you've interned somewhere, I say, was it paid or not paid? Even if it was paid $100, I value that more, because it means you didn't just run around filing stuff or bringing coffee.
Yeah.
But I think it's all about valuing human time and effort.
That's how I see it. And it's interesting that you see. I think there's an argument that you have to pay your dues in a way, but I feel like there should be remuneration.
There should be. And
So
to be
interesting.
honest, my experience with organizations in Dubai, I think almost all of them paid. They may not have been great amounts of money, but enough to cover the students' costs or stuff. Some, of course, paid healthy amounts. Some tried the first month, saw whether the student was worth it or not, and then paid even with retrospective effect. But globally, I don't think it's a norm, but it should be. Students will take their internship more seriously as well.
Well, I think so. It's the the feeling of value, isn't it?
Yeah.
The association of value, I guess. It's been really fascinating talking to you. Dr. Anita Patenka is Executive Director, Symbiosis International University here in Dubai. It's been good to talk to you. Thank you.
Lovely talking to you as well. Thank you
have
so
you
much
with
for
us.
having me.
Like and subscribe. This is Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is The Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. You've probably heard about the new WhatsApp username feature, which is, while it's designed to boost privacy, I suppose, experts are warning it could be a new weapon for cyber criminals, making impersonation and scams easier than ever. AI-driven fraud is reaching new levels of complexity, and it raises questions. For example, are businesses and consumers equipped to handle it? Now, today we're going to unpack the growing tension between privacy-first features, and I guess the risk of automated impersonation. What does it take to maintain a defensive edge? Will be the question. Nikita Astinov is the founder of the UAE-based cybersecurity human risk consultancy, it says here. Siren out, he's with me this morning. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you, likewise.
Nice to have you here. Look, I've made lots of notes here because I'm not a very tech cybersecurity guy, so bear with me, but I've noticed, obviously, WhatsApp rolling out the username feature. So it promises a way to connect, I suppose, without handing out personal phone numbers. So on the face of it, I'm looking at it thinking, well, good. I'm not going to get any more of these calls. The other thing, though, I suppose we don't want to share our numbers, but experts and governments and regulators are warning of a potential disaster. So what makes a username different from a phone number in the eyes of a fraudster, Nikita?
Right, of course. So, yeah, as you very well said, the new feature of the WhatsApp where you have a username instead of the phone number. Now, to better understand this, we need to understand why this was implemented in the first place, looking at it from the security perspective, of course.
Okay.
So Meta, the parent company of WhatsApp, rolled out this feature to essentially hide the phone numbers of users for a privacy reason.
Yeah.
Now, how does this help? For instance, if you're going to order anything from a grocery store, from Talabat, for instance, you would usually have your phone number input. Now, this creates risks and exposes your personal phone number out to the internet and for cyber criminals. Now, this WhatsApp feature, now you have usernames. These usernames work similarly to how you would have a username on Instagram, for instance. They're unique to a person, so the moment this username comes out, only one person in the world could have it. And then this essentially hides your phone number and creates a level of privacy. Now, why do cybersecurity experts actually see this as a level of concern in terms of security? This is simply because majority of attacks target humans and majority of successful attacks are impersonation attacks.
Right.
So to explain it a bit more, for instance, I'll give you a quick example to help everyone understand.
Yeah.
For instance, you were one of the lucky people to get your name. For instance, your name is Cole with an O. And you were one of the first people to get that username on WhatsApp and reserve it, as they say. Now, later on, once this feature rolls out, because this feature isn't out yet, there's broadcasted to be by the end of this year. So once this feature rolls out, for example, a name Cole with the letter O, now the attackers are going to think differently. They're going to think that, okay, we don't have a phone number anymore, but we can try to impersonate this person. How would that work? Let's say the letter Cole, C-O-L-E, username.
Yeah.
The letter O, you can find the letter O in other languages, such as the Cyrillic alphabet, in Russian, Serbian, etc. And you replace one letter with the English alphabet, that's already a unique username, and that's how impersonation starts.
Okay, so really as simple as that. I mean, in simple cases, you can replace an O with a zero.
Yes.
For example,
Yeah,
there's another way of
yes,
doing
of
it.
course,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So, right, I'm with you. So, could this be the next kind of, I don't know, frontier for sophisticated scams? I mean, I suppose in theory that's why there's this furore about it all.
Of course. This is a boom, and to be frank with you, this is not a new thing, right? This existed for decades now, and on different platforms and different softwares that people use also include usernames, and these types of attacks are common. It's just a new thing for WhatsApp. It's a new, you could say, a threat vector that has emerged with this so-called security new feature. It is a feature for security purposes. It helps privacy, it enhances it. However, it does create this concern that we have to be aware, we have to have that cyber resilience and the proper judgment to be able to differentiate between these types of attacks.
Okay, but I mean, it seems as though there's so much discussion over, whether AI is making phishing more convincing, for example. That's something we hear a lot about. So how does a feature like this change the scale of the threat? Because, you could see a time where the so-called bad actors, if you like, the scamsters, the fraudsters, could create thousands of identities that, you look trustworthy.
Right.
And would be really easy to fall for if you're busy. You just think, I'll click on that and I'll come to it. I know that, Cole is my friend kind of thing. Is that a future we're looking at?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, with the advancements of artificial intelligence, as we all know, we hear this word AI everywhere.
Yeah.
It is growing very rapidly. It's very hard to catch up to it, and attackers are using this as their benefit. Now they're automating these attacks in thousands. Now, the difference between the traditional phishing attacks that we would see years ago in comparison to nowadays is the fact that these phishing attacks now are automated within seconds. Before, the way the scammers or the fraudsters that you mentioned would conduct these phishing attacks would simply have them scrape a lot of information about their target from the internet, which would be time consuming, personalizing it manually and then sending it out, that same phishing link that employee clicks and creates a disaster in the organization. Now with artificial intelligence, the scrapping of the information on target is much more faster. It's a much rapid space, enabling a much more larger scope of attack and automating this into thousands instead of having one attack per hour, for instance. So this creates a new threat landscape for sure for everyone, and everyone has to be resilient in this.
Okay. I mean, this is not just WhatsApp, is it?
Of course.
This is Telegram, this is Signal,
Telegram,
this is,
Instagram.
and we're all on these accounts so much. They're all under scrutiny for their anonymity features, I suppose, at the moment. If a platform like WhatsApp or Telegram or Signal, whoever it is, introduces an optional username key or contextual warnings, whatever it is, are these enough to stop an average user from falling for I guess, a digital arrest scam or a fake business account? Are they doing enough? I think I'm asking.
In terms of the people you're saying, or in terms of the organization?
In terms of the organizations.
In terms of organizations, of course, they're trying to do their best. They have large budgets. So Meta, the parent company of WhatsApp, have billions of dollars invested into security annually. However, the thing with cybersecurity that everyone should know is there's never a way to be 100% secure from attack. You have largest cybersecurity companies in the world that get attacked and hacked successfully. So it's never 100% resilience, but they're trying to minimize it to the finest grain, you could say, as much as they can within the budgets and the time that they have. And all of these features are, of course, very helpful and help minimize this, but unfortunately, you're never 100% safe. And that's why we have these awarenesses, and people should be more resilient.
Okay. I mean, the Indian government, I know, has paused the rollout, haven't they? In India, that's happened, and I think that they've given Meta some time to come up with a methodology to take it forwards. I think the Indian government's worried they can't track anonymous people across borders, and India is obviously a huge population, a very heavy WhatsApp user base. So, is this kind of the death knell for unregulated messaging? Would be a question if you've got a kind of obviously. A country of that size looking at it. Is it a sign that tech platforms are kind of losing this ability? Because a lot of this is they have to self-regulate.
Of course.
Because obviously they're behind the technology.
Oh yeah, that's of course, yeah. These organizations that do lack this large amounts of regulations, and of course new emerging organizations that do have these tech platforms, they unfortunately end up falling behind, especially with governments that are very strict on security, that impose heavy regulations to be followed, and they have to be compliant with certain frameworks, certain regulations. This does create a hurdle, I would say, for these organizations. And it honestly is a case-by-case scenario. Some organizations that are based in certain countries will be safer, we would say, in terms of the regulations, because these regulations are nation-based. So different nations have different regulations.
Okay.
And it's a case-by-case scenario, honestly, to answer your question.
What about in terms of corporate security? Because if for any business owners listening or watching now, if your brand is being impersonated, right, via a new handle, a catchy new handle, what's your first line of defense there? Should you be proactively claiming, every variant around how your brand could be seen or written? as a username.
And of course, yeah, there are, of course, regulations that go along with it. And in that case, where impersonation happens at an organizational level and where the scammers or these threat actors are trying to impersonate your brand, usually the first line of defense would actually to be reporting it to the relevant authorities. Here in the UAE, we have the Cybersecurity Council that does a wonderful job at helping businesses and safeguarding our nations in their digital realm.
Yeah.
So, of course, you have to report this issue first and then make sure that it's not a problem of a business actually being verifiable online. It's more a problem of the people who fall for these scams, right? So the issue is not the organization that is being duplicated or being replicated. It's the issue of the people that fall for these. There's verification tags in many platforms. You'll see on LinkedIn, on Instagram, that blue tick mark you would see. These are some of the key indicators that you could use that it is a legitimate organization. And then the absences of these indicators are actually one of the few factors that you have to look into before trusting anything. So to answer your questions, it is not really an organization's fault. It is the fault of the people who fall for it. And the organizations are doing their best, honestly. And to enhance that, they have to have these security features on top of that, of course.
No, I mean, that's fair. And to a certain extent, you're the person in charge of your technology. I get that. But it's very easy, isn't it, when technology works at the scale that it does, for it to be even more of a numbers game. The more people you hit, the more chance you have of a hit. And it's very easy to understand as well that I'm just busy. I know that, but, even if it is a mistake, it's a tough question, I think. Can we widen the scope a little bit? Because I'm interested in, having just met you, how you see cyber threats evolving in 2026 compared to just a couple of years ago, because we know this is it's an industry. Cybersecurity, cyber scamming is an industry, phishing is an industry. Where is it now, as opposed to just a couple of years ago?
I mean, yeah, of course, as I previously mentioned, the advancements of artificial intelligence, the rapid advancements, acts like a double-edged sword in terms of security industry. Right. So now for the attacker's perspective, this benefits them, and we've discussed how it automates these attacks, makes phishing and other cyber threats more easy and capable for the attackers. And on the other hand, you have the defenders that actually use these artificial intelligence models or tools to help them defend. Now, in the upcoming year, or in this year, in fact, in comparison to a year or two ago, a very new trend of cyber attacks has emerged, which are called deepfakes.
Yeah.
So what are deepfakes, for those who are listening who are not aware? Deepfakes are a type of cyber attack that basically utilizes AI power to impersonate a person. As we've discussed, the main threat landscape in today's world is the perception landscape. So essentially, you're playing with the perception. So the way deepfakes work is usually you have the mega chip giant NVIDIA, and they produce graphics cards. These graphics cards are used to create these deepfakes because the stronger the graphics card you have on your computer, the more powerful a deepfake becomes.
Okay.
So deepfake is going to be essentially, you have me as an instance, and I'm the owner of a company. Now, an threat actor would find information on myself, take a picture of myself, get that image of me, and then take it and take my face and put it on someone else, impersonating. And a quick example I could give you is the CEO impersonation. I'm not sure if you heard about it. It's a type of impersonation which is very common nowadays, where they take the face of a CEO, put it on themselves, and make calls to the employees of that organization with the urgency of transferring money, with the urgency of sending an email or performing some type of action while hiding under this fake authority that they have used your face for. And then this goes beyond just swapping faces. They voice clone you as well. And believe it or not, there have been instances where millions of dollars were lost simply because a fake fraudulent WhatsApp call came in with the face of your CEO, with the voice of your CEO, with an urgency. The urgency factor is very important because the employee now sees it that urgent. They see the authority there. Yeah. They perform the action, and that's it.
That's wild.
It really is.
It's just wild to think. What are the industries that you're working with at your company? Who's most under threat at the moment?
Well, currently the biggest organizations or sectors I would say under threat will be for sure critical infrastructure. So for instance, the healthcare. When we have organizations like hospitals, they also unfortunately go under cyber attacks. Now, the biggest issue with this in comparison to cyber attacks that target other organizations is the fact that healthcare providers have a very low downtime, acceptable downtime. Essentially, when a cyber attack occurs, many of the times that causes downtime into the systems. If it's in a financial organization, this is where we're talking about reputation and money. However, when we go into healthcare sector, any downtime, even within seconds of a machine getting hacked and then wrong measurements, different levels of insulin, for example, being pumped in a person, now we're talking about life or death situations, right? So healthcare is very vulnerable. Of course, they do have vast investments into security. However, the risk is still there. Another sector that I could think of off the top of my mind would be the public sector, so the government entities. Around the world, with the regional developments around the world, many state-sponsored attacks occur, and they're called as APTs, so that's Advanced Persistent Threats. These threats are highly customizable and are usually state-sponsored and target a specific government entity of a nation. Now, this is, of course, done by nation-state, as I mentioned. They usually hire or they have a team of specialists, these dark hackers, as we call them, to conduct these cyber attacks to cause the maximum amount of disruption. Now, disruption could be economical, it could be reputational for that nation as a whole, but yeah, public sector is another one that I could think of off the top of my mind that's very heavily targeted, unfortunately.
Is it still the case that lots of cybersecurity issues and attacks still rely on human error rather than the classic image of the guy hacking in, physically writing lines of code and all that? But it's still very much the case that you're tricking people by communicating with them, I guess.
Yeah, of course. And as I've just been talking, the main aspect of cyber attacks that are very effective, I would say, right now, are the human targeted attacks. And there's
pulling on the heartstrings, the urgency.
Exactly, the urgency, the fake authority that they create. I mean, there's multiple reasons why you won't see as many hackers that will, as you mentioned, will sit on a computer, write code, and try to break into a system. First reason and factor that goes into that is, of course, the fact that AI advances really quickly. So does the security tools. So it's much harder to penetrate or break through the technical security measures that are implemented. However, humans, unfortunately, are still very vulnerable, and people who are in security know that humans are the weakest link. They were the weakest link, and they will be the weakest link because, as I mentioned, urgency, authority, the fake perception. Many people would believe their eyes, they will believe their ears in terms of deep fake, as I gave an example. If you see your boss in a call, you're going to believe it. But unfortunately, we don't live in the world anymore where perception is what we should trust. We should have proper human judgment. And in fact, most of the successful cyber attacks, actually around 90% of them, either start off a phishing attack or involve a phishing attack during the process.
Okay. Do you think businesses are investing enough in cybersecurity? I mean, it's not cheap,
of course,
obviously. So, or do you think lots of people are still treating it as an IT issue rather than a risk to their business? So it's not framed correctly.
Oh, yeah, of course. So actually, for many years, this was the main concern in terms of the security industry. Many organizations would always treat security as an IT issue. So give an example, an organization would have a cyber incident. The boardroom or the executives and the managers would obviously throw the cyber incident towards the IT department.
Yes.
The IT departments would have to wear two hats. They would have to wear a hat of an IT specialist and a security specialist at the same time, even though that's not their expertise. And they were thrown to handle these issues because it was seen as an IT issue. Now, however, this is slowly changing, thankfully. It's still not fully there yet, but many organizations are starting to understand that security is really a business issue. It is a business risk because we're talking about reputation. We're talking about money of an organization. The moment a cyber incident impacts, it doesn't affect just the IT department. It affects your whole organization as a whole. So thankfully, this is slowly shifting over the years, but it's still a reason for concern that many organizations don't treat it as a business issue.
So what do you do if you're an organization, you might be an SME, you may not have a lot of money. What if your cybersecurity budget, if it's even there, is very limited? How do you get across the importance?
I mean, of course, yeah. In comparison to large enterprise organizations, as you mentioned, SMEs do often have much lower budgets. So the security is expensive. However, fundamental security isn't. So it's very important to understand that organizations should have, before investing the budget that they allocated for security into the fancy AI-powered security tools and defense mechanisms, the first line of defense should be there. So SMEs don't have to have large budgets. So an example of first line of defense, as I mentioned, is simple awareness, right? So training your employees not to fall for the phishing links. They're still the leading cause of cyber incidents. So like simple training, having outsourcing a trainer to come in and actually provide this session is one of examples. Another example would be many organizations don't do MFA, so multi-factor authentication.
Yes.
So multi-factor authentication is usually a way to have multiple ways to authenticate that you are who you are saying you are in terms of the digital realm and the digital accounts. And this is free. Every accounts nowadays have MFA there as a free type of service for that software. Many organizations are neglecting that and not even imposing MFA and then jumping straight into investing to security solutions. Now, it's a matter of trying to build the fundamentals first, even when you have a low budget. And then once you grow and establish, that's where you start investing in those security solutions, outsourcing security teams, etc.
It's a difficult one, that though, isn't it? Because you need to create more steps in the process.
Of course.
And it may just be one or two more steps in the process, but that has implications for the speed that employees can log back in and all. And I guess there's awareness in that. There's some education in that as well.
Of course.
But it is where people should be starting. Let's get back to messaging for a second. What's the golden rule for messaging? If you're using a messaging system, whatever it is, to share sensitive messages, company data, financial information, whatever it is, has the era of trusting a handle for anyone using messaging, has it come to an end? Are we at a point where we need to find something else?
In terms of handle, for now, unfortunately not, because as I previously mentioned, even new features that would be added and to replace these handles, because I mean, now everyone is treating these handles as a security concern. It is, but we should not forget it is also a privacy improvement. It's also a security improvement. Yeah. So many times when new security features roll out for organizations, the problem is that many of these security features would unfortunately do have a side of it where the attacker is going to try to exploit. So it's not rather a think of, oh, should I replace this? It's rather, how do we adapt to it?
Yeah. And it starts with that awareness.
And it starts with that awareness,
yeah.
Of course.
Okay. If you had to give a piece of advice to a founder or a business leader, really to anybody, to be fair, to ensure that their communications are secure, what would that piece of advice? Would it be just make sure that people understand the issue? Is that the first thing they need to do?
Of course, yeah. Understanding the issue, and the three words that I give to people whenever I speak or give any engagements is verify before trust. This is a simple three words that you can remember before pursuing any action in terms of whether you got a message, whether you got an email, whether you're getting the deep fake voice you can. So essentially, try to verify before performing any action. Even if it's urgent, a step of verification has to be present.
Okay, so that kind of the frustration of, oh, what's my password? And then you have to find it, and then, oh, it's the IT guy. And then that's a small price to pay.
It is. It is. Many times you'll have a person receiving an email with a link or some urgent, in all caps lock, urgent message from your boss, and the person starts panicking, busy day, which is understandable, of course, but it does come with a high cost if you don't verify, of course.
For sure. Okay, final question for you, Nikita. Any emerging trends that businesses or we should all be preparing for over the next 12 months? Is there the kind of lurking bogeyman that's going to jump out of the bushes? The cyber bushes?
The cyber bushes, yeah. Of course. One example, of course, would be the deepfakes. We've already discussed that. But to add on top of that, I would say vendor risks. So many organizations have third-party vendors, so software third-party vendors that they use for their business, day-to-day business operations.
Right.
Now, once this supply chain, so-called digital supply chain occurs, and you have these vendors interconnected to your organization and goes in this chain, a chronological order, now if your vendor doesn't practice these safety security measures, these good security practices, and they get compromised, and a cyber incident occurs to that particular vendor, you're also at risk, even though your organization wasn't a target in the first place.
Gotcha.
Now, for that, of course, there are regulations and different types of laws and compliances that go into it, and where that the organization has to be informed in a certain amount of period of time, etc. But the fact remains the same. When you're trying to go for a vendor, the vendor risk management became a new hot topic. You have to assess your vendors in terms of the security that they have.
Right.
Don't blindly trust your vendor based off the actual products that they provide or the partnership you establish. Also look into the security of your vendor. Is the person you're partnering, working with, the vendor, are they secure? Because that, if they're not secure and they're targeted, you're also becoming vulnerable. So that's another issue that you have to be looking up. Yeah.
So many things. The WhatsApp username things seem to be so small,
Right.
But there's a lot more to come. Nikita Asyanov is, let me just get this right, the founder of the UAE-based cybersecurity human risk consultancy, Cyrenel. It's been good to talk to you. Appreciate you.
Likewise.
coming
Thank you so much. I
Thank
hope
you
you
for-
guys learned a few things here and there on the security realm.
in. I think we did. Wherever you get your podcasts from, look for Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.